A checkers game is really based on compound interest, like funding retirement accounts, constantly saving, doing all the things that like the proverbial they tell you to do. And I don't say that there's anything wrong with checkers. I don't say there's anything wrong with funding retirement accounts. And if you're going to play checkers, I wanted you to play it damn well. Nothing sucks more in the United States than being a bad checkers player. You'll get your butt run over by capitalism. But I also want people to understand that it is checkers.
Freddie Rappina is the founder of Opta Financial. He's a financial advisor, a chartered financial consultant, as well as an accredited investment fiduciary. Freddie helps his clients examine their current financial situation, goals, and completes a financial analysis, providing recommendations, implementations, and review plans for his clients. Freddie says the middle class plays a simpler game of accumulating assets for security, while the wealthy play a strategic game leveraging assets to generate active income streams and allowing for greater financial growth and risk management. It's a game of chess, not checkers, if you want to become wealthy. If you've been thinking about your options to grow and protect the wealth generated from your business, this episode is for you. Enjoy the show. Before we jump into the episode, do you ever get so wrapped up in your business you forget it's time to get someone special a gift? Not the same boring flowers or cookie cutter bauble. No, you want something unique, one of a kind. Guys, I got you. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code if you're watching on TV and go to the Glass Arts Collective. They have dozens of handmade, one-of-a-kind items in lots of categories. You'll find animals, jewelry, holiday gifts, and lots more. All a one-of-one and ready to ship anywhere in the US. Head over there to find that special gift for your special someone, and thank you, Glass Arts Collective, for sponsoring GYET. Thank you so much, Freddie, for coming on. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, as you know, guys, we like to lay the foundation. We want to get to know Freddie, who you are, where you came from, and then we'll get to all the juicy and good stuff later. But right now, we really want to understand, again, who you are. So, Freddie, where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
I grew up on Long Island, New York, and my childhood was, I come from a working class family, and I was a baseball player, and that's what I spent a lot of my time doing. I had a family that worked real hard and was able to send me to a good college prep school, and just kind of working my way from there.
Excellent. So, what positions did you play in baseball? Because I spent a lot of summers playing baseball as a kid.
Well, in high school, I was a catcher, but in college, I played the outfield. I was a little bit undersized. I was at that time, I was like 5'7", like a buck 40 maybe. So, you know, can only go so far with that, with that frame. But I did pretty well for being that small. So I'm proud of that.
Yep, I hear you. I hear you. I never grew much past 5'7". Once I hit that was kind of where everything stopped. So I get it,
Mm.
totally get it. And then what did mom and dad do?
My father was a senior electrician for Con Edison, and my mother was a waitress. So growing up, and they worked real hard. They played a great game of checkers. They're happily retired now, and it's been great. And they're what I love most about them is that they're okay with me like playing chess. What me advancing into the chess world, and they don't feel insulted by that, which is always super nice. Because the one of the hardest things, in my opinion, um, is to not take financial advice from people who love you. And luckily, my parents gave me, you know, we're cool with like, I want to build wealth. Yeah, go ahead and listen to people who are wealthy.
Yep, 100%. Don't listen to somebody that doesn't have money about how to grow money. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can apply that to entrepreneurship. Don't listen to them about how to grow your business if they don't have one. It goes on and on. So it's very
Mhm.
cool that you had that support from your parents. And then I know that you were at one point in time, you were a police officer. So you went to school, got all that good college prep going for you. You had the support of your parents. What inspired you to become a police officer?
I was originally going to use it as a stepping stone to either go to law school or join the FBI, the, and I decided no, I just liked it and stayed. And then I realized there's some advantages to having a job like that where you don't work every single day. There were 12-hour shifts. There was times like, you had full days off. You could do other things. And I started really getting back into finance. And around my 12th year, I decided I wanted to get my certifications and start a small firm. And my financial office was literally right across the street from the police station. I was running back and forth, um, almost every day, and helping my fellow police officers and firefighters retire and go through all the retirement process, and it grew from there. And it's been very organic, and it's been great.
Awesome, because that's definitely one of the questions that I had for you down the line. I was going to get to, but you just knocked it out of the park right there. Is how did you get your start? And you just
Mhm.
said the network, the people that are closest to you. They saw
Mhm.
you going through the change. They saw you, obviously probably started asking you questions, trying to get advice like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, I'm thinking about investing here. Like, Freddie, what do you think I should do? And yeah, it could be totally organic, but that the trust has to be there. Would you agree with that? That's where it started, was that trust foundation.
Yeah, and the trust really was evident when I was helping them on things that I wasn't going to make any revenue from, or instructing them on to not take on a service or something that was going to make us revenue, and instead sent them in a different direction that wasn't. So, like, when you have that, trust, people know that you're looking out for them, not just yourself. It was, I think that was one of the bigger reasons why it grew so quickly, because in my ask of that network is that they just allow our firm to make the revenue if that's appropriate, if that's one of the choices that they're going to make. And just don't run up the street to somebody, to XYZ firm, after we've worked with you for so long, and implement the plans there. So, and generally, people are very good about that.
Yeah, you're right. If you serve people well, and like I say, you have that foundation of trust, they will stick with you. I mean, that's true in the financial services space. That's true in business and entrepreneurship. It's all about serving people and having that trust. And I watched a little bit of one of your other interviews, and you mentioned hanging around with wealthy people. Again,
Mhm.
going back to don't listen to the broke guy about how to make money. You were hanging around with these wealthy people and like, you know what? There's a better way to build wealth and create a life that, I want and that I think we all want, a life of abundance. Who was that person or that group of people that really made that shift for you and started that hunger to like, I'm going to dive into finance?
I would have to say the first person was my real estate broker. His name is David Vitalis, and he's very brash. He's very to the point, and and very upfront about how he's become successful, and how he talks about tax planning on different legal ways to not pay a high tax bill, and really just getting involved with that. And I really started learning from people like that there were two different games. There was the middle class game, which I call checkers, and the wealthy game, which I call chess. And I'm like, like, why are there two games, and why am I learning a lot of the checker stuff? I mean, a lot of the stuff above my head right now is great, and I learned a lot from these pieces of paper, but a great amount of it was checkers, and in my opinion, not enough of it was chess. So, and you learn chess from chess players. So, getting around chess players was, was a great benefit for me.
And let's get into that because this is an analogy I know that you make all the time, checkers
Mhm.
versus chess. So let's get into some examples of what a financial checkers game looks like.
Uh, a checkers game is really based on uh, compound interest, like like funding retirement accounts, constantly saving, um, doing all the things that like the proverbial they tell you to do, and have 6 months of 6 months of emergency fund, all the things that like people say like, okay, these are the things you should do. And I don't say that there's anything wrong with checkers. I don't say there's anything wrong with funding retirement accounts. And if you're going to play checkers, I wanted you to play it damn well. Nothing sucks more in the United States than being a bad checkers player. You'll get your butt run over by capitalism. But I also want people to understand that it is checkers and it is not chess. And checkers players, you want to be debt free. You want to pay off your house. You want to have, basically no debt whatsoever. And that could be great for a lot of people. All right, um, and you can be happy doing that. I don't want to discredit that. Like you can be happy. My parents are super happy with their checkers game that they've played very very well. Um, and but you, in my opinion, you just can't become wealthy. That is a different game. So to become wealthy, you have to switch over to chess, and chess is different. And the biggest separator, in my opinion, will be your attitude towards debt. Again, checkers want to stay the heck out of debt. Chess want to get into as much debt as possible. Um, and when I use debt in this context, I don't mean running up your credit card at Walmart. I mean like purchasing cash flowing assets such as real estate, such as businesses, things that are going to create more income for yourself. Because, in my opinion, income is what makes you rich, not investments. Um, going back to checkers, one of the pillars would be compound interest. And in my opinion, compound interest is the most oversold concept to the middle class. Not that it's wrong, it's a math. It can't be wrong, it's irrefutable. The problem is that uh, the expectation, in my opinion, is incorrect because people, in my opinion, don't live long enough for compound interest to work the way that people want it to by funding these retirement accounts or funding any other types of investment account. The whole like you, you're in it for the long haul strategy, long term investing, long term, all that. In my opinion, people don't live long enough. I mean, if you lived 900 years like Yoda lived, it would be great. By your 400th year, you'd be super duper wealthy. But when you only have so many sets of 10, meaning 10 years for your money to like possibly like double or whatever, if you're getting like a 7% rate of return or something like that, when you only have so many sets of 10, it doesn't happen because, by the time that you have the number that you're looking to have, you may not be physically able to enjoy it, right? And you just, I call it the golden wheelchair plan. Um, the, I, and so learning how to build wealth now, how to build more income now, so you can enjoy your life now, to me, what I call chess. And but I don't say it checkers is wrong. I want to make this point very very clear. If you're going to do it well, but don't go screaming at the moon. Why do the rich keep getting richer and others not? It's because you're not playing the same game. And the financial industry is just force feeding checkers down people's throats. Well, and most people, I'm not saying most, a lot of people should play checkers. But the people that want to play chess should understand the game and have the opportunity to do that, because everybody does, in my opinion.
Right, right. And the more that you go into that and explain it, I'm starting to get like a visual in my mind, especially when you said the golden wheelchair, people that are doing all the things, they're saving, they're funding retirement accounts, they're as Dave Ramsey says, buying term and investing the difference. All of these things, those are great for the people that are building up to that retirement so that they have less of a risk of running out of money when they retire, right? And that's the main goal of the checkers player. Am I thinking about that correct?
The checkers player really is focused on the one day aspect. You're sacrificing now, you're saving money now, and you're just funding and funding and funding, saving and saving and saving, for this future date where you're going to take a portion of that savings, and you're trying. Your goal is to not to run the well dry, right? You have this big number, you start taking a much smaller number out, living on that smaller number, and you're trying to make sure that that well is not going to run dry over your retirement, right? It is difficult to do. It's not. I wouldn't say it's safer, because one of the companies recently, one of the big companies reported that their like average 401k was under management was like $250,000. So it's like people aren't even doing that. So people aren't even playing checkers well. And if you're, yeah, if that's not going to work, it's at that number, it has to be a very high number. Like if you have $1 million, and you're using the 4% rule, which we can have a discussion about whether that how true or good that rule is, but let's just use it for an example. Well, that's $40,000, right? Where are you retiring on $40,000? All right. So, and you've saved $1 million. It's not like you didn't do the hard work. So I see it as, hey, it's hard. It's not impossible. But people need to realize that, what can these strategies actually do, right? Instead of, oh, this is what everybody's doing. It's like, well, yeah, but do you want what most people have? Because if you want what most people have, then do what most people do. But if you want something different, you got to do different things, right? You're not going to have uncommon results doing common things. And there's in my opinion, is a very do as I say, not as I do element to the financial world right now, where the banks want you to invest in banks, with invest their money in the bank, right? But is that but people aren't doing what the bank is doing with the money. People, investment companies want you to buy mutual funds, ETFs, diversified portfolios from them. But what are they doing with it once they receive the money, right? Insurance companies want you to buy insurance products from them, but what are they doing after they receive the premiums, or the investment, or whatever it is, right? So, and I almost feel like there's a paternalistic element where the financial world is saying, just play checkers, leave chess to the adults, leave chess to the smarter people, right? And because we're going to take your money, we're going to play chess with it. And I'm saying, yeah, you can play chess if that's what you choose to do. You may have to play it on a much smaller scale. Like, I was able to play college baseball. I didn't play in the major leagues, but it was the same game, right? It was just on a smaller scale. So playing chess, you can do it. Insurance companies might own hotels. The biggest hotels in the city may be owned by an insurance company, and you may own a quad. But the principles and strategies are the same.
100%. And before we get into the principles and strategies of playing chess. You mentioned that the whole game of checkers, the financial game of checkers, is being just force fed down people's throats. So before we move on to the chess part of the game, I want to see if you have any, or what you would consider would be the top maybe 3 financial myths that are being sold out there as far as building wealth.
I think the biggest myth is that you can do it with checkers. Like that's in my opinion the biggest myth. Like if you, but we know it's wrong. We know it's not true. Like instinctively, we know it's not true. Like I live in Tampa. If you went down to the boat show here in Tampa and you walked up to somebody with a $25 million yacht and you say to that person, "Hey, how did you afford this $25 million yacht? This is awesome. It even has a helicopter on top of it." They're not going to respond with, "I fully funded my IRA," or I bought a well diversified mutual fund, or I bought this insurance product with some guaranteed rate of return, and now I have a yacht. Like those are not going to be the answers, right? So we know it's not true to a point, but we're just told over and over and over. And I'm not saying people shouldn't put money in retirement accounts or put money into the market. I love the market, but people need to have the correct expectation of what the market can actually do, right? In my opinion, the market is fantastic for leverage, right? So when I drop a statement on my lender's desk and say, "Hey, look, look how much money I have. I can, this is how much money I have. I want to buy this piece of real estate, but I don't want to use my money. I'll use a little bit of my money for the down payment, but I want to use your money. Go in the back vault there and pull out some money, and we'll go buy this piece of real estate, and I'm going to pay you back with the income from the real estate, and I'm going to let my statement grow over time." So it's different, right? And but I'm not saying that having the 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 market based assets on the piece of paper is what's going to make me wealthy. I'm saying it's the opportunity to be able to get financing to buy cash flowing assets such as real estate, such as businesses. That cumulative will is what's going to advance the wealth, and that's chess.
There you go. And that just slides right into the next part of the conversation. And I think you may have mentioned some of those strategies already. But when we're playing the financial game of chess, what pieces are we playing with? What does that puzzle look like?
Oh, you're playing with a lot of other people's money. Yeah, using debt. You have to be comfortable with debt, and the hard part about, well, one of the pitfalls of chess would be over leveraging, right? To the point where you can't pay a lender back if you needed to. See, in my example, you have the resources to pay the lender back. You just don't want to with your money. You want to do it with whatever the income is from the asset that you're purchasing with the loan to help you build a wealth. And some of that money goes in your pocket as well. So you're advancing your income with that. So that, in my opinion, is probably the biggest thing about chess that people, just kind of they don't think about enough, in my opinion. Now, I want people to think about it, but if it's not for you, don't do it. Right? Stick with checkers and play checkers well. But if you're looking to play chess and you know and be able to achieve what chess players are able to achieve, that's got to be it's got to be there, in my opinion.
So leveraging other people's money to invest in assets that produce a return. And again, so you're not paying out of your pocket to pay those loans back. So one of those assets obviously is real estate, potentially buying businesses. Or would you say, because this is a show about entrepreneurship, would you say that having your own business is one of those assets that you can leverage against?
Of course, I think one of the biggest things that business entrepreneurs and business owners fall into a trap with is that they keep reinvesting their own profits back into their business. Um, and having profit is great, but when you have the profit, you probably want to purchase the cash flowing asset first, and then you might want to reinvest the income that the cash flowing asset is creating back into your business if you're trying to build. But if that doesn't go the way you planned, at least you still have the cash flowing asset, right? I think that's a big mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, especially when they start doing well, until something comes along and just knocks them off their feet a little bit, and they have a hard time recovering, like a COVID or something, because they don't have those assets producing income. So just having people, you have to have the cash cow, right? And that cash cow might be a 9 to 5. It was in my case, being a police officer, right? That cash cow might be your business, right? That you're doing well at, and it's producing good income. But what are you doing with the income? Are you saving it and then taking out loans and purchasing cash flowing assets such as real estate, such as other businesses? And business, when I say business in that context, I mean like semi absentee or absentee business. I don't mean like you work in like 10 different businesses. Um, so, that I feel like those are the ways to more quickly amplify the wealth, and instead of just the sit and wait game, with the checkers, you're in it for the long haul. That statement drives me crazy, because absolutely nobody you give your money to is in it for the long haul, right? The banks aren't in it for the long haul. The investment companies aren't in it for the long haul. Insurance companies aren't in it for the long haul. No one you hand your money over to is in it for the long haul. They're interested in building profit and income right now, so they can fund their next operation or whatever they're trying to do to advance their company and get better executives or whatever.
Yeah, I like how you made that analogy of going back into your own business and uh, not putting the money back into the business, which is something that a lot of people out there giving financial advice, especially to entrepreneurs, say always invest back in your business, or don't take a paycheck. All of this stuff to help the business grow. And it's so interesting. You can kind of look at it as your business essentially becomes your bank. It becomes your loan that you can take out to again buy those income producing assets. And I had a question about this as you were talking, and I'm wondering what you think about this.
Mhm.
Let's say that you have like a manufacturing business, right? And you're taking that profit, you're putting it away in a savings account, and then you end up using that money to, okay, let's do this as smartly as we can.
Mhm.
You keep that money in there. You go to a bank and say, "Hey, I've got these assets here sitting around. I want to add another production line to my business to grow the business. I'll put a little bit in, you give me the rest of the money, and we grow from there." Do you think that's a good strategy, or does the asset generation need to be outside of the business, so to speak, and then come in?
My opinion, I would like it to be outside. I would like it to be, um, possibly in real estate or another business that's a little bit more, I don't know, more stable, maybe than the business that you're trying to build, right? Like I don't know, like a laundromat or something like that, something that's going to be around. Um, because when you purchase that asset, when you have that piece of real estate creating income, or you have the laundromat creating income, my example, these are examples, by the way, then you can reinvest that money into the business, right? So that well will continue. Let's say you have I don't know, you have a new idea for your business, but let's say it doesn't work out. Well, if it doesn't work out, you don't have a big loan to pay back, right? Because it failed, right? Because you just take the loan and and you insert the loan into the business, now you're leveraged, right? So now you need to make sure that works to be able to pay back the loan. But in my example, you bought a piece of real estate, that real estate's producing income. Use that income to try your new idea, whatever you're trying to do. And if it fails, it just sucks, but you still have the piece of real estate. That doesn't go away, and that continues to bring in the income. So you can try another idea, or just continue to get the income.
Mm. Nice, nice. Thank you for going through that. And that brings up another question of tax advantages or strategies, right? So if you're having the business and it's purchasing the asset, is it better to purchase that under the LLC, or is it better to purchase that business? It's like, say, the business owner going through, his social security number, and then they invest that money back into the business. Like, what, in your mind, what's the better way to do that?
It will depend on the person, right? It'll depend on how the businesses are structured. Having it might be better to have the two business and the real estate separate, separate entities, whether it be an LLC or whatnot. Whether or not you're in a C corp, whether you have pass through, disregarded entities. How it depends on how you're set up. So it's a hard question to answer without like having like specifics to the scenario. But I think what people need to realize what is important is the tax code. The tax code is a almost like a guide, a roadmap, a way to become wealthy. The government wants you to become wealthy. And it's basically saying with this big book we call the tax code, if you do the things that I like, what I want you to do, you won't pay a lot of taxes, right? Well, you might even pay no taxes, but it's a free country. You can do whatever you want. But if you do the things that, that doesn't benefit me being the government, I'm going to have to come after you for the taxes, right? So if you partner with Uncle Sam and you're like, okay, what do you like, Uncle Sam? And Uncle Sam goes, well, I like businesses because that will create jobs, and those jobs will likely be W-2 income jobs, and I'll hammer those people in taxes. So I'll give you the tax break so you can create those jobs. I like real estate because I don't want to, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to create rent control. So I'd rather there be a lot of landlords out there which will compete for rent, which will keep rent low theoretically. I want you to have kids. I'll give you a nice tax breaks for having kids because I want you to create future taxpayers. That so it's all, the whole book is like all like basically incentives. Like the only thing I can really compare it to that's kind of fun for a podcast is, do you remember the entertainment book? So there was a book that was like a big coupon book. It was like this thick, right? And it had like all the local restaurants, all the local attractions in it. And you purchased it usually from like the Boy Scouts or something like that. And you would have coupons. I had that thing in the back of my car everywhere I went. And if you use the coupons, it more than paid for itself. So, but if you didn't use those coupons and you didn't go to those restaurants and you didn't do what the entertainment book wanted you to do, you were going to pay full price. But if you used the locations that were in that entertainment book, I mean, the coupons were really good. So again, the tax code incentives to do what the government wants you to do, and like, yeah, it's how they want you to invest the money, and then because it provides a benefit to the government, that's the next important thing. They're not doing it because they just want to be kind, because it helps them in some form or fashion. So you not paying a lot of taxes actually helps the government.
Mm. Especially, like you said, as a business owner, when you're producing jobs, which provides income, and like you say, W-2 employees, which they love those people.
Oh, get crushed. Yeah. Yeah. That's any W-2 employee listening to this will be like, yep, getting hammered. Like, because, you give the one person the break, and then, they create multiple people to tax very heavily. and more to makes up for that one person or one entity you're giving a break to.
Yeah. So obviously, this is not, like you said, this is not the standard school of thought that's out there as far as how to create wealth, generational wealth, checkers versus chess, all of those things. And I was wondering, what in your mind is the advantage of working with an independent financial advisor versus somebody that is quote unquote captive?
First, the first question anybody should ask anybody that's that's going to handle their money is, are you a fiduciary? That should be the first question. A fiduciary has to act in the client's best interest, not in their own best interest or the firm that they work for.
And
And
I
if
want to
they,
touch on that. I want to touch
sure.
on that because that's a very popular term. It's getting thrown out by obviously every financial advisor is like, I'm a fiduciary. We're a fiduciary firm. And I'm going to frame this in a way that might be a little curt, so bear with me. Um, the guy that took all the people's money, Bernie Madoff, right?
Mhm.
He made off with a lot of people's money, right? He was a fiduciary. So,
Yeah.
what does fiduciary even really matter?
Well, it does. But they have the responsibility to. It doesn't mean they're going to, right? Like, so there's still a human element there. Just like they have the legal responsibility to work in the best interests of the client, right? So you're starting at a standard, right? There's ethics in every profession, right? So it doesn't mean there's not unethical people within that profession. But if you don't even have that standard, that's probably not the best place to be, right? If you're going to you go into the medicine man in the woods, well, like, you're probably not gonna have the same service as if you went to, a medical doctor, right? That has the Hippocratic oath and everything else. But yeah, having that conversation is important. But also, to answer your question, there's with an independent advisor, there's no such thing as production requirements. I don't have production requirements. My advisors I have on my team don't have production requirements. I tell them work in the best interest of the client at all times, whatever that works out to be. It is. When you have captive advisors, there could be outside pressures to do this or do that. But when you're independent, those pressures just don't exist. Um, and especially if you have access to, you know, gen- generally everything, then in my opinion, there's no reason not to work with somebody that's independent, an independent fiduciary. But also if you're you have to know who you are, when you go into these meetings, right? And that's why I wrote the book Playing the Wealth Games, to help people figure out who they are. If you're a checkers player, you want to work with a good checkers advisor. If you want to play chess, don't work with a checkers advisor, right? Because that's not going to help you, and that person is not doing the same strategies, right? And sometimes not making mistakes that they can tell you not to make. So if they're playing chess a long time, so you have a long time, you have some strategies to advise on. But if you're just a checkers advisor and you're doing the checker stuff, and the chess player is going to want to do things, and the checkers advisor is going to be like, no, you shouldn't do that, because I give you all the reasons not to, instead of the reasons, the pros and cons of it, but also be, um, I don't know, help you be ambitious towards those goals.
Hmm. So how does one spot the difference between a checkers advisor and a chess advisor?
Oh, I think it's pretty easy. You ask your financial advisor, how many, like, do you own multiple pieces of real estate? Do you own multiple businesses? Do you own multiple pieces of real estate? Um, if you don't have to get it into too far with the advisor, like how many doors do you own or whatever. But if that person says like one or none, like I only own my home, that's it. That's a checker's advisor. Um, so because in my opinion, if you're going to play chess, real estate's got to be in the game, um, or multiple businesses or something. Because, but again, there's a lot of good checkers advisors out there. I'm not saying there's not. I'm saying there's not enough chess advisors out there like myself. And think about it: if there's 300,000 financial advisors, some form of licensing in the United States, 300,000 people with some form of financial licensing. If there were 300,000 people giving really good advice on how to build wealth, wouldn't the wealth gap shrink? Wouldn't it go down? The wealth gap is expanding and it's expanding greatly. So again, retired cop, evidence-based mindset. Wait, look, if it's not if it's not shrinking and more people aren't going up, then I think we need to look at it and be like, okay, is this working? Is this maybe the best advice, especially for those individual people? Um, I just see it differently. I see it differently. I see insurance companies, particularly life insurance companies, especially Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, and Mass Mutual. Um, I've asked the question: how do life insurance companies have the best years they've ever had before in 2020, 2021, and 2022? How is that? You insure life. Life is dying. CNN's got a scoreboard on TV every single night on how many people have died of COVID. How can you have your best years during this time? And I'm not saying they did anything wrong. I'm saying they're doing things right. They're playing chess. So it's just not, it may not be what what the average advisor is telling their people to do.
Right, right. And me myself being a licensed life agent, I know that there are powerful strategies and ways to use those products in order to protect and grow generational wealth. Obviously, talking with you now, people are more aware of different other strategies to really compound that, bring in those real estate assets, buying businesses and things like that. So it's good. It's good to have these types of conversations because I don't know about you, man, but in my opinion, the financial education in this country is absolutely abysmal. I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, like anybody in the field, I think agrees with that. I think one of the good things that came out of this election season is that people actually talked about like what are capital gains, what is step up and basis, what are these talking points that were going back and forth like a badminton birdie. But people at least Googled it, and started learning about, okay, what are these things? What do these things actually mean? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, but I feel like that was a silver lining to all of that. People started looking at tax codes a little bit more closely and having an opinion about them. And people are free to have any opinion they want to. Yeah, I mean, it's not in my opinion, it's the strategy, right? It's not the asset. It's not the mutual funds. It's not the ETFs. It's not it's not the insurance product itself. It is the strategy that comes up, right? So, and the strategies that people are going to use, they have to have an expectation of that strategy. Now, in my opinion, they need to have the correct expectation of that strategy, because if some people think that just doing this is going to make them wealthy, or doing that's going to make them wealthy, on I'm saying like, well, neither of that's going to make you wealthy. So it's the strategies, right? So I know you're an insurance guy, and there's definitely I like insurance too, but fine. But there's strategies to use that that can be helpful. The question is whether or not it's correct for that person, right? Or not. I mean, like, there's definitely things out there that are more controversial than others, the strategies. But I'm like, okay, who are we talking to? If we're talking to somebody who isn't playing checkers well, they shouldn't be using these strategies that a chess person would probably benefit from, because they need to play checkers well first before they can jump over there. But talking about insurance stuff, I'm not going to walk up to the Rockefeller families and say, "You guys have been doing it all wrong for like six generations." Like, I mean, that would be ridiculous, right? So yeah, it's just understanding and having the expectation and being able to actually benefit from those strategies, because so, some are good for some people and some are not.
Right. And it all goes back to the client, like you were saying. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? And how does everything that is available to you, either from, my services or Freddie's services, how does that apply to create that whole picture for you? Uh, everything from, what you want to pass on. Are you trying to set up a trust? Are you trying to set up like a scholarship perhaps at a college? Like, what are we trying to do? And also, what is your risk tolerance? Because everything that you're doing in the financial game, like, I don't care if you're talking insurance or if you're talking investing in the market or businesses, whatever, everything comes with a degree of risk. So how much are you comfortable with? Do you get into that whole risk tolerance conversation when it
Oh
comes
yeah.
to, in the book that you talk about?
Yeah, so we talk about the difference between like debt capacity and debt tolerance, speaking from the chat side. So debt capacity is like the amount, right? That's a number that is like, if I was you, I would not go over this percentage or this number as far as the amount of debt that you could take on to purchase these a cash flowing asset. So that's debt capacity. Debt tolerance is, of that number, what are you willing to take on um, as risk, right? Being able to use the leverage to purchase that cash flowing asset. And so again, the tolerance is very important, but but everything has risk. Doing nothing has risk. Burying it in the backyard has risk. Digging under your mattress has risk. Importantly, security risk and inflation risk, right? So there's nothing safe. So you have, in my opinion, you have to be able to take on some kind of risk, because you are, even if you're doing nothing. So understanding who you are. I know plenty of people who are very conservative when it comes to like investing, like what they're investing in, but they're like super duper aggressive when it comes to the businesses that they buy, right? So it just depends on who you are, right? So but there's risk, like I said, there's risk in doing nothing too.
Absolutely. And talking about risk, it spurred another question in my brain. What do you feel about crypto? Is that something that people should be putting any money in at all? Is it, again, like risk tolerance, or what are your feelings on that?
Oh, I don't mind crypto. I mean, it's here to stay. I don't care if you like it or not. I don't care if you believe in it. It believes in you. It's here, so you can learn about it and get over it, or and in my opinion, in the next several years, people are going to be buying it whether they know it or not, because they're going to be funding that 401k, and that 401k is going to be investing in a mutual fund, and that mutual fund's going to be investing in a stock. That stock is going to be purchasing crypto. So it's, that company. So it's like you're investing in it. You're going to be investing in it one way or another anyway. But it depends on, again, who you are, right? Are you in a position to take on an asset that can be volatile, right? But I don't say there's anything wrong with the asset. When we talk about crypto, we're talking about like, the regular crypto. I don't mean like altcoins or anything like that. The speculative stuff. I mean, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Litecoin, things like that. I don't mind it. You know, it's coming. I mean, so people can get on board with that or not. But it's just another asset class that it will go on the paper to show the lender, so they will go back into the vault, get the money, and so you can purchase the asset that's going to bring in the income. um, because that's, in my opinion, is the way to build wealth. It's having those assets, and my job, in my opinion, is to make somebody look really good to that lender, right? So if they look really good to that lender, they are able to do things, to be able to take out those loans, whether or and good tax strategies, whatever that works out to be as well.
So many questions, but I gotta keep myself under
Sure.
wraps here a little bit. So is that starting to show up as far as presenting a holdings of, let's say, Bitcoin? Is that starting to show up as an actual asset you can leverage against when it comes to going to a bank?
Starting, not there yet. Uh, I wouldn't say it's there yet. Starting, yeah, I would say it's starting, but I wouldn't say that. Yeah, most I don't know. Probably better. Lenders would probably that would be a better question to ask them. But it's. But I think it's common where they're gonna start asking, and if you have it, that's great. But it's a volatile market. But I mean, all people got to understand, why is crypto valuable? I mean, biggest reason why it's valuable is because people agree that it's valuable. That's because, yeah, I mean, that's why gold has been valuable for thousands of years, because people just agree that it's valuable and are willing to trade with it. So, and try to go back in time and try to explain, uh, a credit card to your grandmother when she was like, I don't know, 13, 14 years old. Like it's going to be really difficult for that person to understand it, right? But today, you're like, oh yeah, 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 that's totally usable, right? Um, so, I don't think the United States will be the first adopter of cryptocurrency, like the way people think it will be, just because we already have the infrastructure. We have trusted third parties, we have banks, we have what we need to transact. I kind of compare it to telephone poles. Like, I live in Tampa, and I live in one of the newer areas of Tampa. Storm came, and we didn't even lose power. We didn't even lose the internet, because all of our power lines are underneath the ground. The older parts of Tampa that had all the telephone poles, they didn't have powers for like weeks. So just understanding, like, it's the newer places are going to adopt the newer technology, and the United States is probably going to be one of the last. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen though.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Our adoption rate when it comes to new things like that is pretty slow, but yeah, it's definitely coming. So I'm glad we went down that little rabbit hole for a sec. So bringing it back to entrepreneurship, I want to again understand you a little bit better, and I was wondering, in your journey of building your business, growing your practice, what would you say is one of the greatest lessons that you've learned so far?
The greatest, I think, it is just treat everybody well. And, I ask my clients all the time, like, what do you like most about the firm? And in your head, you're thinking like, oh, I made this, I helped this person make a lot of money. They're going to talk about their accounts and blah, blah, blah. And the answer sometimes is, you answer the phone. Like, yeah. So, like, you think all these great things you've done, and something so simple and basic in your mind is the reason why people are using your business, is because you're personal. You look out for them. You're and you answer the phone. You answer emails in a timely manner. Like, you do all those things to show people that they are important to you, and my clients are extremely important to me. And and that's leads to referrals, and all that.
Yep, 100%. You treat people well, they'll stick around and they'll tell other people about you. Absolutely right. Well, Freddie, this has been an amazing conversation. I can't thank you enough for spending the time. Before we get out of here, tell us, where can we go to learn more about you, your firm, and see if it's time to start playing chess?
Optafinancial.com, OPTA financial.com. The homepage has the schedule a consultation button on it, and you click that, it brings you directly to our calendar, where you can schedule a complimentary consultation. And if you want to learn more about, how I think and my philosophies towards things, Playing the Wealth Game is the book, and it's on Amazon. It was number 5 yesterday in investing. I'm dying to get to that top spot, but that top spot's owned by Warren Buffett, and he's pretty good too. So, yeah, the book has been a success. I'm proud of that, and I think it had to be said, and I just think it took a retired police officer that to say it out loud.
Yep, absolutely. It's not common knowledge. It needs to be more out there. And I love how you illustrated the point with the 300,000 advisors that are out there, and yet the wealth gap is getting wider. So yes, what you do here is absolutely needed. And again, I'm really glad to have been able to have this conversation with you. And as we wrap up here, we're going to go back to getting to know you better. We're going to not talk about entrepreneurship at all. We're just going to have some fun.
Okay.
So what is Freddie's guilty pleasure?
Cheesy music.
Cheesy music. Okay, describe. I'm a musician, so I have to know.
Like, I don't know, just cheesy fun music. Like, not, I don't know, pop, like 80s pop. I like all that stuff. Like
Duran, Men at Work.
Yeah, just all that stuff. Yeah, it's good driving music. I don't know. Definitely would say cheesy music.
I can understand that. I have times where I tell Spotify to play 80s hair metal, and yeah, I'm with you, man.
One of the songs that you're like, wow, this is a great song, and you turn it down so the cars next to you don't hear you actually listening to it. That's it. That would be the cheesy music that I like.
That's it. That's the guilty pleasure right there. How about a movie that anytime it comes on, you'll always watch, never get tired of it? Inception.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like the Christopher Nolan movies, and that one is darn good.
It is a good movie. It was a brain breaker when I first watched it, but yeah, I totally could get that. And then what's a bucket list travel spot for you that you have not yet been to?
Travel spot. I don't know, maybe Australia. My wife studied abroad in Australia. She talks about it all the time. We get Australia stuff. She worked for the Olympics in 2000 there. So I got a lot of pictures of that. I'm like, this place looks pretty cool. So maybe there. Long flight though.
Yeah, really, really long flight. I've never been, but I see all those pictures that come up on like Facebook and Instagram about Australia, and like spiders the size of your head running around. I'm looking forward to those. I'm like, no, I don't need to go. No, we're good. We're good. Oh, well, again, Freddie, this has been a lot of fun and very, very informative. I know that the listeners have got a lot of information and some ideas about ways to build wealth. So thank you so much for coming on, man. Again, it was a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you know what to do. Like this episode, share it out with your network, because just like Freddie said, this knowledge is not common knowledge. We need to start closing that wealth gap and make sure more Americans have the opportunity to grow and protect generational wealth. And with that, peace. We'll see you in the next one.